Okay, I think it's time for me to go ahead and get started. I've got a whole bunch of things happening, and the headache ain't entirely gone, but I'm definitely feeling feisty enough to try and stream tonight. So, hello, good evening, how are you? It's 7:22, it's like 3 degrees outside, and probably in the negatives due to the wind chill. Thank you for being here. My name is Ben Paints. There are captions that are just completely under everything. Yes, I did. I took some, I can't remember the name of it. Aleve, I think it is. It's the really good one that kind of makes you not feel your head, but I definitely still can. Also, it looks like the captions are a little lower than I want them to be. I didn't realize I could do captions, so I'm trying to do captions. Let's see what I can do here. Okay, there we go. Now we have some captions, and they're going to be fine. I have no idea how this is going to work. God bless freezing weather. I love it. I love the cold. I am a huge fan of the cold. I am not a huge fan of the headache that comes along with the dryness. And also, I think it's just because I was back at work for the first time in like 5 days. And I just wasn't prepared for staring at the screen that much. I don't know. I don't care. How are you guys doing? I'm going to go ahead and do the thing. This can go away. We don't need that. We don't need the starting soon anymore. Once again, oh, by the way, Dark Volt, I got to show off that amazing art you did, and I also got to show off the mini that I made for it. during my game on Friday, and it was very popular. So once again, thank you. I do appreciate it. And I'm sorry that you're so eepy. I hope you get a really, really good night's sleep, because those are the best. I did not get a good night's sleep. Doing good, finished 2 Caiaphas Cain books. I need to read Caiaphas Cain. I've read The Grim Darkest of Grimdark. I've read The Horus Heresy. I need to read Caiaphas Cain. Yeah, it's just fantastic is the reason why Darkfold. It's just fantastic. So I'm gonna go ahead and pop that off. Main camera turn on. Hopefully the font I chose is going to work okay. The color I chose is going to work okay. I do see it kind of meshing a little bit. At some point, I can already hear you going on a Cain-like rant about the cold weather. It kind of feels like it at times. I've never read Caiaphas Cain. I have a friend who has, and he loves it, so that just means that it's a good book that I need to read. What was I just thinking? Oh yeah, there's a fun little Easter egg with the color of the font that I chose for the closed captions. And I'm curious if anyone can recognize what that is. I don't have a to-do list. What the heck is wrong with me? Look. There we go. Let's see if anyone can guess exactly what is going on with the font color I chose for my closed captions. Is it supposed to be Everland Sunset? Holy crap, you're good. Yes, it is the hex for Everland Sunset. I actually went ahead and looked it up on the Google, and I put it in there, and that is apparently the official hex for Everland Sunset. You guys are good. You guys are awesome. I am also apparently very transparent, which is okay. So, what's happening right now is I've got the lion, and I'm continuing to work on the lad. This is what he looks like. I think he looks really good, and I'm pretty pleased with him. I am eventually going to go back and do some deeper shading with an airbrush. Yeah, you guys do just pay attention. Like an intelligent person. So this is where he's at right now. This is what he looks like. What I've been trying to work on, and I did a little bit of it this morning, was the cloak. Because the cloak is a really cool part of him that deserves a lot more attention. I'll eventually get like the fur that he's got underneath. I'll do that one. But right now, I'm really hyperfixating on making this cloak absolutely beautiful. Right now, I believe it just has a layer of Gal Vorbak red mixed with some black, which is Cain books get better on book 5 right now, I think, peak. I hope so, because I've heard nothing but good about them. But yeah, the undercoat and the shading in here, this is all just Gal Vorbak red with a black. That's it. And I just kind of slathered it on there. And then the highlights, which you can kind of see starting to form, are just the Gal Vorbak red by itself. And I'm still not like the best with color theory, so I don't know what colors lighten maroon. And so I because that's kind of what Gal Vorbak red is, right? It's just maroon. So what I did was I looked online, and they just suggested using white. So I suppose it's just going to get some white shading on top of it. Because right now, I believe I'm at a point where just a little bit right there, where it looks like I can't get much more out of just painting this in with the Gal Vorbak red. It's hit kind of the brightest it's going to get from there. And yeah, I mentioned it on the channel, on the Discord, but I finally got to play a game, an organized tournament game of Warhammer. I got to play a Escalation League game of 1,000 points against a player that's been around for a while and was more than happy to teach me, which was very cool because it made me feel a little less embarrassed about the fact that I barely know how to play the game. Admittedly, I wasn't too embarrassed. It's like, why would I know how to play the game if I've never actually, played the game? It didn't actually end up taking that long. I think we spent maybe 2 hours, 2.5 hours, between both of us having to constantly reference things and me having to kind of learn. We actually managed to get through the game pretty quickly, and it was one of the first games where I didn't feel like it was dragging. Depends on what color you want your shading to be. Maroon is a cooler tone of red, so you can lighten it with pinks and shade with purples. Batch painting terrain myself, very cool. Snow Twig, we played 10th edition. Okay, so if pink would make this brighter, I think that's what I'm going to end up going with then. I need to get me some terrain. I don't have enough. Especially after playing the game that I played on Friday. Having good obscuring terrain completely changes the game. Which, yeah, of course it does. But getting rid of firing lanes and making it so that you actually have to think about maneuvering and positioning is huge. But yeah, he was playing Dark Eldar, and I was playing, obviously, Imperial Fists, and I posted some pictures in the Discord, but, I got a I made him go first, because I won the dice roll, and, I got a really good first turn in response, because he didn't want to expose himself, because, you know, Dark Eldar are really, fragile, right? And so he put himself just kind of enough to be ready to pounce on some objectives if he could. But I also had big tanks. I don't know if anyone was able to parse out my list. I'm starting to think white and red Manufactorum colors are a nightmare. They kind of are. That's something I want to do, is I want to find a good unified paint scheme for, like, my city stuff. Because, right now, it's just kind of painted, and it all looks it looks a little bit too grimdark, which is weird to say, but it's so muted, you're not really getting anything out of it, and that's not very fun. So I kind of need to go back to the drawing board and figure out some more vibrant color, so that if and when I finally do have enough terrain for a battlefield, it looks fun. Does the Hammerfall stay on the board when it's destroyed? Because it could be a hide from sight even when taken out. Unfortunately, no. When it dies, it dies. It just explodes. Which I remember reading that older editions you used to like upend the model, and then it became obscuring terrain. And when it came to like rhinos and tanks, and I kind of wish that was still a thing. Like, if it doesn't explode, it stays on the board and it becomes obscuring terrain. But yeah, unfortunately, that doesn't happen anymore. It just is removed. And that sucks. But I had a really good first turn, and I took out one of the Dark Eldar transports and his big tank. It wasn't actually a tank, but you know what I mean. It was the one with the biggest gun. And so he basically was playing off the back foot the entire game and decided his best option was to go after secondaries. And because I'm not very bright, I chose really bad secondaries and wasn't able to do much with them. So he couldn't really stand up in a pitched fight against the Imperial Fist, just because the armor and whatnot is too much. But yeah, he managed to beat me because he paid attention, and he was smart. He played tactically, and I got to see just how wicked fast the Dark Eldar are. It'd be a nice terrain project to have some unit ruins like the Hammerfaller tanks. I agree, and I wish they were less expensive, so I would be more freely willing to do that. What'll probably actually end up happening is I do have STLs for Hammerfall bunkers, and I have STLs for tanks, so I could probably go in and print them and then really F them up. You know, break them apart with hammers and whatnot. And then use that to kind of inform... Yeah, 3D print them, exactly. My biggest thing right now is I've become really gun-shy with printing on my FDM printer, because it's been very prone to failure recently. And it's becoming really disappointing coming back down and seeing that the nozzle has grinded against something and knocked it loose, and now there's just spaghetti and spider webbing everywhere. So I've kind of given up temporarily until I can gather up the gumption to come back down here and troubleshoot the damn thing. But it could just be that I'm printing things that are too small. Who knows? I don't know. But I'll figure it out. I am getting inspired by Bamboo Labs' A1. Not because I want to buy it, but people are printing at like 0.2 millimeters with a smaller nozzle and getting some absolutely freaking amazing results. Tanks, you cut the bottom at an angle and then add some clay mounts for it. Yeah, exactly. I could do some really cool battle damage stuff and make it look really good and have that as terrain for characters to scale and to hide behind and to hunker down in. There's a whole lot of fun stuff I could do. It's just a matter of getting the courage to print out and then F up a bunch of vehicles. And the biggest one is getting the courage to print them out, since they've been failing so often. And that would be a lot of fun, cheap, but also very good-looking terrain. And all of those things make me happy. I have no idea how me doing this motion is actually causing parts of the desk to shake. I am that powerful. But yeah, I might have, I don't remember if I said it on the Discord, but I didn't use my Oath of Moment once. Every time I'd move to shooting, I'd go, and I forgot about my oath. And we would just kind of look at each other awkwardly, and then I'd say, yeah, but it's already passed. I'm just going to eat it, because I need to learn. Hey, Shiny Mew Paints, how's it going? I saw some of the stuff you've been posting in Discord. You've been doing some pretty cool stuff. And I saw that you were working on that Stormcast Eternal. That is a tough project because of just how, I don't know, I don't like metallic paints. They always seem to fight me. So maybe you're having better luck with it than I am. I don't know. Hey, Magic Donut, how's it going? I am painting this proxy of the lion, and today I have decided that since I had a massive headache, I don't want to think too hard, so I'm going to hyperfixate on his cloak. And yeah, that's kind of what's happening right now, is I've decided that I'm going to take it really slow, and I'm just going to go ahead and paint in his cloak to the absolute best of my ability, and we'll see how this goes. But how are you guys doing? That's enough about me. How's your week been? Hopefully it has not been as frigid cold as it has been here, though I will be 100% honest with you, I enjoy the cold. How was your LVO? Exciting, because I love the Emperor's Children, and I love the models they put out unanimously, and I'm sad that I'm not going to have enough money to buy them once they become available. Because unfortunately, I do not make enough money. I actually started donating plasma again because that's a fairly relatively efficient way to make money. And I need to use that to pay off some credit cards that accrued while I was unemployed temporarily. And then I realized, I found out today that I actually have like a personal property tax that needs to get paid. And yeah. So the money that was going towards paying off those credit cards is now going towards paying that personal property tax bill. Going decent, nursing my grandma back to health after she had her gallbladder removed. Oh my goodness. I'm glad to hear that she's doing okay. And I'm pretty sure she's glad that you're there to help her recover from such a major surgery. Literally bleeding for the property. Unfortunately, yes. You know, between a bunch of health issues and whatnot, I haven't been able to do this as often as I wanted to. So, this has still been a relatively small-scale thing. And, my current job pays just enough to pay the major bills. So, there's that. But that's okay. I'm doing okay. My wife is doing okay. So, I don't really have much to complain about. The fact that I can't afford some expensive plastic miniatures is very low on my list of things to be sad about. Okay. So yeah, all I'm doing right now is trying to be fairly gentle with the shading here, because I don't want to leave big chunks of paint anywhere. That tends to kind of ruin any smoothness you might be able to get out of it, and it also kind of ruins the transitions. It's been cold AF here to -7 most of the week. Finally got above freezing today at 43 degrees Fahrenheit. My goodness. It rose to about 17 today where I am, and it was I think 8 or 9 without the wind chill when I walked to work, and then it got back down under that as the evening kind of rolled in. Posted a work in progress, so you can see why it's a nightmare. Talk to you later. Okay, well, have a great rest of your evening. I'll take a look at the work in progress in a second. I'm trying a new camera angle because I want to be able to get in closer with my head to see what I'm doing, but at the same time, I don't want my head to block the camera, because I got a big old melon head with a big old shock of hair now. So hopefully this angle is still letting you guys see the painting. Okay, I'm gonna put him down for a second. Let's see what kind of fun stuff you got going on with your work in progress. Oh my goodness, yeah, I can see what you mean. I think that's going to look awesome though, once you start hitting it with some weathering. Because that's a good set of colors that are gonna be really like stark and they're gonna pop. Okay, that being said, you and I are the same in that regard, polar bears. That is true. Let me see, where is it? Where did it go? Where did the thing go? Window capture, that's what I want. Boom. 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 Gonna use streaking grime on all of them? Yeah, that's definitely gonna like make those look absolutely amazing. I need to do stuff like this with mine, because mine are just kind of like, they exist, but they're also dark and dirty that you really can't get much detail out of them. The only one I did that I'm really proud of is one of the, it's that giant generator with the giant skull in the middle of it. I don't remember what it's called, but it does look really good. You put a new Tyranid list together because every Tyranid player at LVO ran Exocrines and Carnifexes, and that means GW is going to nerf them again. Yeah, probably. If they're dominating the game, then, or they're really popular, GW is going to try and encourage people to play different models by making the ones everyone wants to play bad. Or less good, or whatever you want to call it. Which is why I'm happy I've been playing Imperial Fists. No one wants to play them. Though I did hear that they recently had a tournament-winning list. Though not as Anvil Siege Force. They ended up taking the Salamanders detachment, I think. I don't recall, but my goal is to eventually become solid enough with like a fully themed Salamander, or I mean Imperial Fist army. All the way down to whatever sub-faction or detachment option there is available for them. I hate it because it makes Tyranids boring using Exocrines. I honestly don't remember which model the Exocrine is. If you'd like to refresh my memory, I would greatly appreciate it. Because all I remember about Tyranids is Bigum Bugum or Tiny Bugum. Every other one just kind of blends together. It's basically using tanks only. If it's the Salamander's detachment, does it count as fists? In this case, Darkvolt, yes, because they used Torgaradon. So they were technically playing Imperial Fists. They were just using the detachment that gave them +1 strength if they were within 12 inches, I think. Basically using tanks only in the game. You hate that. It's trading strategy for power. Yeah, that is true. And I can see why that would be annoying. In my case, I don't want to say I kind of did that, because that's Torgaradon with more strength. Only with ranged attacks. And Torgaradon's ranged attack, since it's anti-vehicle and monster already, it doesn't matter too much. Exocrine and Carnifexes. Okay, let's see what we got here. Oh, okay, so the big artillery boy and the Carnifex, which is the big ol' melee boy. So their entire army, or was majorly, if it were a Space Marine one, was basically Ballistus and Brutalis Dreadnoughts. So yeah, I kind of get that. I can get why that would be frustrating. They are really cool units, though. The one that won, the list that won at LVO, the Deathwatch list, that thing was wild to look at. What's going on here? Why am I missing? Did I over... Does this go? I think I might have... I don't know. Whatever. So I was flabbergasted when I saw the breakdown of the Death Watch list. That one was absolutely amazing to witness them talk about. At least Auspex Tactics talk about. So I'm happy the Death Watch are back. I just hope that doesn't mean that we're gonna start seeing like everyone and their mom play Death Watch, which I doubt, to be completely honest. Okay, is this visible? It looks visible. It's also not been down enough. Gosh darn it. So I'm taking your advice, Dark Volt. I'm mixing in some pink with the Galvor back. And I'm going to try and not screw up these highlights too badly. Because this is where my skill set starts getting a little bit rusty. I like the look of the bugs. They got me Pyrovoid and looking into zone throws for when I start painting my Leviathan. Okay, what's going on? I put stuff in Discord for me. Thank you, Shiny Mew Paints. I pissed one guy off because I ran Swarm list mostly and I picked fixed missions. I walled off the tanks because every match I had was basically all vehicles versus me, but I walled them off and abused my lethals and sustained spam from my gaunts to kill them while scoring your fixed objectives. Very cool. I think if someone's going to bring a list that lives or dies by one thing and they face the one thing that can deal with them, then they should just eat it. And yes, I am a talented lad, and I'm going to do great. No more of this imposter syndrome this year. I'm gonna do the best that I can, and it's gonna be good whether it's good or not, because it's gonna be good. Spoken like a true English teacher. Now what is going to happen is at some point I'm gonna need to just get a new brush, because this one is starting to wear down a bit. Pyrovore is great because Torrent and Twin Linked, it drops cover for you too. Yes, it does. Very cool stuff. I do have a small Tyranid army because I bought the Leviathan box, and I think I ended up 3D printing a something. The one that eats things. I don't remember the name of it, but I 3D printed the one-page rules version of that so that I could get up to 1,000 points. But otherwise... Oh, and I also 3D printed some Ripper swarms as well. But yeah, I've basically got 1,000 points of that Tyranid. The Psychophage. That sounds about right. I don't remember. All I remember... It's the one that has the giant maw and all of the, like, grabby bits coming out of it to try and pull things in. I'm pretty sure that's the case. I also honestly haven't looked at it in months, so I don't remember. Not the Screamer Killer. The Ripper Swarm Worth was such BS. I'm not sure what happened with that. I haven't paid attention too much to Tyranids. I've been focused mainly on the factions that I do try and play, which are Death Guard, Sisters, and Space Marines. So I'm sorry if I missed out, but I would love for you to explain, because I like learning about things. Lionel Johnson's looking good. Thank you. I'm trying my best with him. I'll look at your stuff in a minute, Shiny Mew Paints. I'm trying to get like a streak of this done, so that way it looks consistent. Because it's that thing where if you heck up, then you start seeing like areas where I kind of stopped and started, and that doesn't look very good. So just give me a second, then I'll take a look at what you've been working on, because I do know you've been working on that Stormcast Eternal, and you've been working on some of those Gobos. Speaking of, I have another Gobbo to paint. That's going to be my next thing, I think, once I finish Lionel Johnson, is I'm going to get to work on that one specific Gobbo that you shared with me. Basically, Ripper Swarm's having OOC because they can't do actions, meaning... Oh no, it's disappearing. Too many links. I can't see what I'm looking at anymore. Just give me a second, guys. I'll be back to it in a second. I promise. I promise. Just let me draw some squiggles on this guy's cloak. Okay. But yeah, unfortunately, this work is incredibly tedious. And so it's not like you're going to see huge differences in it. But I'm already seeing a difference with the cloak. At least this one streak. So it's going to look absolutely brilliant when I get to that third highlight layer. Let's go back. Oh, you're picking up some Custodes, eh? Very cool. Oh, they have 0 OC and they can't do actions, meaning deep striking them for behind enemy lines is pointless. Well, that sucks ass. Maliceptor. The other ability, Exocrine. Let's see, Dark Volt, what have you showed me? No, it's not the Psychophage, because that one came with the Leviathan box. Yeah, the Haru Specs, that's it. It's a Haru Specs. That's the one I was thinking of. Thank you. Yeah, actually, I just ended up painting some Custodes for someone. Shiny View Pants, what you got? Oh, Holly Goblin and Leora Goblin. Very cool. Okay, let me see. What happened? Stuff in Discord for me? Thank you. Okay, so we got 2 more potential Gobos to paint. I still need to paint the ones... new. Oh, those are your new projects on the docket. Okay, I got you. Blah. Let's look at these new Gobos. Gobos. So we got this one right here. We got Holly, which is a little blurred, but that's okay. And we got Leora. So those are going to be the next ones you do. Very cool. I've got... Where'd you go? I got this tiny little lady that I'm going to try and paint at some point. And I think I've shown her off before, but you can see very tiny, very small Gobbo. So I'm going to need to pull out a much finer brush than what I've got. You use your enhancement for your characters to put the hard specs into reserve and turn 3 bring them onto the board to deal with tanks. That's terrifying. Something else I did. I was practicing my sword skills and I painted this. And it obviously needs to be a little bit brighter, but I'm pretty happy with that, how that turned out, given that it was just kind of a practice run for a power sword. But yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and probably take some of those lessons to heart while I paint the lion, since I want him to look a little bit better than my previous attempt at it. Bait the deployment for the wall, then put him in reserves, and bam! Very nice. Yeah, at some point I'm gonna actually try and play... Actually, you know what? I don't know why I didn't do that earlier. I played a practice game of 40k against myself, just to kind of get used to the new Space Marine stuff. And I played against Death Guard, because I happened to have 1,000 points of them. And I don't know why I didn't do Tyranids, because I have 1,000 points of Tyranids, and it's not like I play them very often anyway. So why not just bring them out and have them fight some Space Marines? Okay, I think that'll do. But that'll be okay. Do just a little bit less wet, because that's... You can kind of see it. It's beating up there, which is not good. You're sitting on 4,000 points of Tyranids. My god. Congrats on having all of that. I used to have over 5,000 points of Imperial Fists, but a lot of them kind of got sold because they weren't models I was using, and I was just tired of looking at them. So now I think the number is closer to, especially after 3D printing and whatnot. Actually, no, I take that back. The number is probably still pretty close to 4,000 to 5,000. I haven't actually checked recently, but I do know that between a bunch of the units I have, I probably actually have more than I used to. Because I've had more dedicated, I want this specific model versus, ooh, this looks cool, I want it. One could say that you like them? Just a little. There's just a little bit of an indicator that you are fond of the space bugs. Just a smidgen. Just a little bit. Okay. And see, this is where this stuff starts getting me. I'm not exactly sure how to do some of these larger folds, because it always feels like I'm either doing too much or too little depending on how I'm looking at it. Now, I will say something that does regularly make me sad is that, you know, because of how prominent they are in the marketing and in the story, a large number of people play Space Marines of some kind or another. With Tyranid Nurse, they're like playing on hard mode against everyone. Yeah, That's my understanding. Is they were really good for a little while in ninth, and they've just kind of been struggling ever since. My only refrain that I can give you, my only consolation, is you can say, hey, at least I'm not AdMech. Because AdMech feels like they're never good anymore. And I feel so bad for them. It's like GW saw what happened with the 9th edition Codex release and was just like, never again. Because AdMech has been some kind of dog water now for close to 4 or 5 years. I did me an Excel of my units and the current points. Turns out I've painted over 8. Is that 8,000 points of 40k Dark Angels? Good lord. Pikachu of 40k. Yeah, that is true. No, AdMech are great, but you have to spend a fortune to make a good list. I've heard that as well. I know that they're really expensive, but I've most recently heard that they're like incredibly mid at best. So maybe that's changed. And you seem to be a lot more into it than I am. So I'm going to go ahead and defer to you, since you clearly have your ear to the ground more than I do. Okay. They're a distinct direct counter to the Tyranids. Points costs are looking to be way cheaper than points were in the books. Yeah. GW needs to stop doing that. I wish they would stop lowering points on things. I like having big armies, but I feel bad for people playing Horde armies that now have to bring like 10 million copies of X model or Y model. But that's just me. Okay. I'm starting to have a little bit of a struggle here, but it's not one that I cannot readily resolve. After you finish scooching more stuff on the cloak, did a bit of an update on what I'm working on as well. Posted the finished Gobet. Very cool. Okay. Yeah, so this is where me needing to focus comes in, not because the shields they run can make you hurt yourself when you shoot, and so Termagants with 1 wound means they die if they shoot. That is fair. That is fair. They do have that really good barrier of some kind. Okay. This needs to be a little bit more loose. This is where Flow Improver is my best friend. And I'm kind of sad that I didn't grab any, because right now the paint is a little bit tight, even after being moistened, I guess. And so it's creating these really, really clumpy looking bits, streaks on it. And I guess they'll eventually become texture, so it's not too bad, but it is definitely getting a little annoying. So what's probably going to happen is, after I finish kind of doing this shading, this highlighting, is it's all going to get a wash, which will hopefully knock the color back down a little bit. Okay. Let's see what else we got. That being said, just means Jack Diddley against Necrons, or a vehicle heavy list or a monster heavy list. Yeah, that's always the biggest issue there. Oh, yep. Proof of scale, and yes, 32mm goblins are a flea. I'm not sure what that means, but yep, it looks like we got some good stuff in here. Very cool. Oh, that is a good picture of scale. Okay, one moment, please. One moment, please. I think this is going to be good. I think that's enough. I don't need that open anymore. If you play meta, they suck. If you play off meta, better learn to fall back and move as well. That is fair. So let's see. Let's see what we got. No, that's not what I want. That's what I want. Got some Gobos from Shiny Mew Paints. Oh, you mean it's tiny? Yeah, they are very tiny. And with this scale next to each other, it's hard to tell how small they are. And I think that's very clever on your part. But when... Okay, so that's the other one you've been working on. Looks very good. The eyes are difficult to do, and I think you did a pretty darn good job there. So congratulations. I also that terrain that you've got, that basing, looks really good. So very cool. I need to get myself some small terrain like that. And there's for scale. That's how tiny that little version of the Gobbo is versus the bigger version. It's like the difference between a Firstborn Marine and like a Terminator Captain. And then finally, You got the Bowser, or the Gobette with her chain chomp. Very cool. Awesome job. Awesome job. Okay. Back to work on this piece of cloth that is going to end up getting like a million hatch marks as I slowly whittle my way down the highlights. Okay, so just get a little bit in there. Oh, that's way too bright. Get a little bit in there. That's a bit better. Now, I don't have enough moisture. Add a little bit more of that Galvorback red back in to mute that color back down. But yeah, honestly, that game was definitely one of the best experiences I've had with 40K. At least the game part of it. So I'm really glad that I did it, because I was pretty thoroughly convinced for a while that I actually don't like playing the game of Warhammer 40K. And that the models, the lore, the video games, all that stuff is fine and dandy. But the actual game is just me headbutting a wall, trying to like it and justify everything else about it. So I was pretty darn pleased that I ended up having a good time. And that the game itself was tactically very fun and engaging, and I felt like I was making important decisions. It felt like the kind of experience I'd been hoping to have with the game for a while. So I'm happy about that. And I hope that my games continue to be of that caliber. Because I'm not super worried about winning or losing. I've mentioned that a few times since, you know, I'm so darn new to it. But just the chance to bring my models out and show them off. The game is frustrating at best, but the feeling of winning or playing someone who plays well makes it worthwhile. That's what it felt like. I don't even know if the guy was actually a good player. He seemed like it. He really knew what he wanted to do with his Drukhari. But I didn't feel like I was fighting the game in the same way that I normally feel like I'm fighting the game. You know what I mean? And so I was pretty darn happy with that. And I hope that it continues. I don't actually know who I'm playing next. I know that they've put the next match up on Best Coast Pairings, but I forgot how to get to that, and I just haven't looked. And they mentioned that they were going to post them on their actual Facebook, whatever. So I'm hoping to see that very soon. Drukhari wins or loses the movement phase. That's kind of what happened. He was very, very selective with how he was moving them, and I understand why, because it was all about positioning and making sure that he was making the most out of every turn, because he knew he was going to lose models every turn. And it was fun to watch someone who knew what they were doing with squishy units try and figure out the most optimal way to sacrifice their squishy units. You know what I mean? Hey, Isidore, how's it going? Good evening. I'm cold, I have a little bit of a headache, but I'm on pain meds, so I'm here. And right now, I have decided that I'm going to hyperfixate on the lion's cloak to try and make it as nice as possible for the overall model. But yeah, I'm hoping that my next fight is against someone who has like a completely different army, because I want to experience the gamut, the range of 40K army characteristics. So I suppose I will see in a couple days, and then I'll get my ass beat by them, and it'll be a good time, because I will learn things. But from what it sounds like, there's like 30 people involved in this tournament, in this escalation league, which blows my mind that there are 30 people in and around the place that I live that were like, yes, we have armies of Warhammer and we want to play them. 10th edition turned it into a vehicle game. It does feel like that. While I do appreciate and enjoy the expanding of the toughness and the power across the units, I do feel like it's created some pretty bad gaps in power between like vehicles and everything else. Though at the same time, I will say, even though he had mainly vehicles when he played against me, it was a lot of transports and a couple of big things, I never felt overwhelmed or overmatched. So that was probably just luck on my part, but like I said, it was a good game, and I had a lot of fun with it. Okay. Let's see. Get that a little bit lighter so it can do a better job. After this, I think is going to be a pure pink highlight, only in some of the higher spots on this cloak. And then after that, maybe a white, like, spotlight. I'm not exactly sure. I'm going to have to continue looking at it. Perhaps the Imperial Fists themselves count as vehicles? It does feel like that, doesn't it? I haven't played enough 10th edition to agree, but I do play Necrons and they seem quite nice. From what I understand, for a while, they were one of the better armies. Between their firepower and resurrection, they were just really tough. And again, good for them, because I remember them just kind of existing in 9th edition, despite being the poster boys of the beginning of the edition. So I'm enjoying seeing other armies take precedence over the ones that was all I heard about in 9th edition. Aircrafts got nerfed to the ground. I hope the later updates fix some of the weaker armies instead of here you go Space Marines and Necrons. I hope 11th edition just puts vehicles into the ground now that everyone's invested too much into them. Yeah, I don't know. I don't want to see a huge amount of yo-yoing. I want them to eventually find a way to make a relatively balanced game. And I know that's a tough ask given how broad a scope 40k is, but it is definitely something that seems like they're trying to achieve. And eventually they'll hit on the right way to do it, and it'll be fine. And then they'll find a way to ruin that. I do know currently that apparently the internal balance of the game is pretty good for once, so I can't complain too much. Because it seems like every time I hear people talk about it, the older editions of the game definitely had ridiculous balance issues that don't exist as badly anymore. So, good for them, I guess. Give Termagant some sort of AP. Given what flesh borers do, you would have thought so, right? Okay, so I really wish I had remembered to put some resin in these seams, because these seams are so dang unsightly. And I hate them. But I suppose that's okay, because this is just a practice model. Okay. Which kind of tickles me to no end that this is meant to be like a practice. This actually isn't even going to be the display model. I'm eventually going to buy the real Lionel Johnson, and he's gonna be the one that I really zhuzh up. This one is just kind of a let's see how well I can paint him model. And actually, let's see what comes next. I think next, no, I'm going to put some white in there. I'm going to mix in some white, and that's going to kind of wash it out, which is what I want. Kind of a paler pink. Yeah, I don't know. I think, I'm not a game designer, so I don't have very strong opinions on what should or should not be done with the game. Wouldn't that be broken, though? Maybe anti-something would do. Yeah, possibly. Like anti-infantry, maybe? Anti-infantry 3 or something like that. Okay, so these need to be smaller, since these are increasingly concentrated highlights. This edition, the Votan took the Necron stance that they exist. I know, right? They finally released a book for them, though. The Votan finally got a book, and it's supposedly pretty good. So good for them. I will say, this is going to be a weird take, but it's stuff like this that really makes me appreciate how big the game is. And I don't know if it was GW's doing, and this is the business approach they're taking, but I do kind of love that the game is so sprawlingly large in a lot of ways that they really can't focus on every faction. at any given time. So, like, storylines, characters, armies get to marinate for a while, and they get to exist in the world without having to be a central focus. And then at some point, GW gets to decide, you know what? Let's do something cool with this army since we haven't heard from them in a while. And then they get to have their time in the spotlight. And I just think that's neat. Considering most Space Marines have a CP to undo AP-1, I think it would balance out, especially since they hit on 4s. Possibly. They nerfed that, though, so it only affects one unit shooting at them, is my understanding. So they have made it better. And I do agree that Armor of Contempt is silly. I do think that there's way too much damage reduction, and honestly, as much as I like stratagems, I don't think they belong in the game. I kind of like the idea that each unit does a special thing, and that's what makes the unit special. You know what I mean? So maybe... I don't know. I feel like stratagems do something weird to the game, and it's not something that I like, but that's me. It could also be art. I don't know that if assault intercessors are broken OP. I do know they're fairly strong. Yeah, I don't pay too much attention to the competitive stuff. I watch Auspex Tactics because he's about as much as I want to engage with the competitive play. Because I had this thing when I played Magic, and I realized it after I stopped playing Magic, that getting too deep into that aspect of the game actively started ruining my enjoyment of the game. Because what would happen is everything had to be optimal, and I couldn't play things that were suboptimal. And every time I tried to, all I could think of was how badly this ran versus what I should be doing. And that just kind of ruined the fun of my game. So, I'm trying my best not to do that with 40k. You can't watch his videos. I don't watch them. I scrub through them. How to start building videos for new players from him. Yeah, he's really good. As Isidore just said, he's not necessarily going to set the world on fire with his entertaining rhetoric, but he gives a lot of good information very quickly. And if you can't stand his voice for whatever reason, then you can just scrub through the videos because they're basically glorified PowerPoints. And I appreciate his hustle, and I appreciate the depth of knowledge he tends to bring. So I'll listen to his stuff if I want to hear about competitive or if I want to hear breaking news. He makes really good first investment suggestions. That's what it seems like. He seems to understand that there are multiple facets to the game, and so he's willing to try and help people at every level, which I think is pretty cool. Okay, I think this is going to look okay. All of this is going to get a wash, so I'm probably actually going to go all the way up to white, because I think this is looking pretty good. You just can't continue to watch. Well, of course you can't, because if you do, you'll fall asleep. Because that's what he does. What's really weird to me is he started playing some games with Morty and Glory, and in those videos he's talking at his normal cadence, and it's really weird hearing that voice speak at a conversational pattern rather than that almost servitor-like delivery that he has in his videos. And I do love that the running joke has been like, Auspex, dude, you can sleep. It's okay. Sleep is allowed to happen. Because it really does seem like he's just so on top of everything all the time. And I can't imagine living a life like that. So kudos to him for being able to do it, but just, my goodness. Morty and Glory I can't watch. I've never actually watched Morty and Glory. I don't know much about the guy. I just know that he and Auspex played a game, and I tried to listen to it, but I was so put off by Auspex Tactics' normal voice, because it was just so jarringly different than what I was used to, but so similar, that I was just like, okay, that's enough. I gotta turn it off. speaking of Morty and Glory and Auspex Tactics, they were playing an Imperial Guard versus Imperial Guard army, and I am still on the pathways of eventually making an Imperial Guard army, but it's going to be a custom-built one using human defense force models from one-page rules. So eventually I will get back on that ship as well, because it seems like, once again, I am extending myself out in weird ways, and that's making it difficult to really stick to anything. Okay. Because right now, and the other problem also is that I'm out of resin. So, you're playing the Imperial Guard this weekend? Well, good luck. That's going to be a cool match, because you are literally doing a Starship Troopers. But yeah, I wanna have a fully 3D printed Imperial Guard army, and I want to play that in some casual games, because you know, their current army is just basically Cadians, and I know they're trying to bring in some Krieg to bring some variety up, but I kind of don't just want to make Krieg because everyone goes for Krieg, and I'd like my army to look a little unique. So using the human defense force guys from one-page rules was kind of a nice compromise, because honestly, I'm not super jazzed about their uniforms and whatnot either, but at the very least it's unique. You feel bad that the range just had a Legends update? That is true. But I mean, in their defense, in Games Workshop's defense, because apparently I'm just a bootlicker, they do have a ton of models that they've kind of got to take into account whenever they do anything. So at some point, they've got to start pushing some of them aside so that they can really focus in and try and do a better job balancing the dang game. They were models nobody used anyway. That's fair. Okay, so right now, this is what I've got. Soulblight Gravelords models. That's because they look so good. They look fantastic. Speaking of, actually no, there's a little bit up there that I just need to work on. I was about to say, this is what I've got so far, and I'm wondering if I should push it brighter or darker. But I'm not quite done with him yet. But you guys are more than welcome to take a look at it and decide whether I should go brighter on the cloak or leave the cloak at about this brightness of a highlight and go darker in some of the shadows. I think that'll have to do for that. What I might just do is I might go ahead and start doing the front parts of his robes, and that will give me something more to kind of latch on to. Because this is what I've got so far. And eventually, I'll be able to see what I'm doing, since I am doing this without my glasses, and I am fairly blind without my glasses, unless I'm looking directly at the model. I'll eventually be able to see what I'm doing and make some more informed decisions that way. Okay, let's mix some of this up. Get that down a little darker. You check GW store, the models they've normally sold out that outperformed the Novelty sale. The normal always stock models are out of stock. Interesting. How do I like the pink highlights? I think they work really well. I appreciate the suggestion, because going just straight white would have looked very muted, and that's exactly the opposite of what I wanted. I want there to be a richness to his cloak in the same way that there's like a richness to his armor. So I'm glad that that seems to be the case, and that's what I was able to pull out because of your suggestion. So thank you, Darkbolt. And also, that means you contributed to making the lion look badass, so I think this was a win-win for you. Okay, that's gonna go like that. My only problem now is that the paint is starting to dry out, and since I'm just kind of using water to wet it back down, it's not exactly playing how I want it to. Thankfully, that's not a huge deal. But yeah, when I first saw this model, once I started getting better at painting those vibrant emerald greens, I was like, I gotta paint the lion like this. And You're just that much DA pilled. There's nothing wrong with that. That's a good place to be, my friend. When Mommy Dova first asked me to commission paint their version of the lion, this is actually closer to what I wanted to do for them. But they pretty much asked me to make it look like the box. So that's what I did for them. And I still think that that's a freaking amazing paint job. So I'm not at all mad about it or anything or regret it. I think it was a great attempt to try and emulate the heavy metal style to some degree of success. So kudos for that. But now that I've got this one, I can paint it how I want. And that's exactly what I'm doing. Okay, that's just the Ko-fi bot. I didn't know that the Ko-fi bot would start like doing that, and I keep forgetting to turn it off. But yeah, at this point, any donations you guys make, or anyone makes, will essentially just go to try to buy more minis. Because my actual mini budget is non-existent right now. I did just buy some resin. I've been busy with crafting and moving meta at the same time. For my own lion, I want to make him more Horus Heresy Legion first color. Yeah, with like the dark black armor. That's such a good look. Are you going to give him the giant helmet too, so he has the big Dark Angel wings? Because I think you should, because that's a freaking cool look on him. I think what I want to do, what I'd love to see happen at my game store, is I want to see a crusade. I don't know if anyone has the time or the patience or the organizational skills to pull off a crusade, but I would absolutely love to participate in a crusade, because that's like, you want to give them the hood. The hood is very cool. I could see why. The hood looks fantastic. But yeah, I would love to take part in a crusade, and as I'd probably still play my Imperial Fist, but I would definitely try and lean more into the flavor versus like what makes a good list. So like, I wouldn't try and use any named characters. I would have all in like an entirely fictitious army made up of only my guys, and they would all get these intricate backstories so that I could have all that cool stuff going on. That would be my plan. So yeah, my next goal after this is to do a crusade. I'm getting as far away as I can from competitive and moving whole hog into the role-playing aspect, the you know, storytelling aspect of this game. Okay, I think that should dry okay. If you ever pick up a second line, you'll do the helmet. That's really fair. I'm the only Tyranid player, and let me say I haven't won once because Tyranids get nerfed until they consume a planet, and then they are too OP to stop. That is fair. I mean, you could always magnetize the helmet, Darkbolt, because especially with the Lion, it wasn't very difficult. The biggest thing that I had was that his iron halo in the back, it doesn't really go well with the helmet with the wings because of how big they are. So what you might want to do is, if you really want to be that squirrely, you could magnetize the iron halo as well. Though that required a pin vise and a lot of patience on my part. I also had a pretty good suggestion on Blue Sky, because I was talking about wanting to like sell my entire Imperial Fists army specifically so I could rebuy the models and rebuild them and repaint them, because that process just makes me so happy. And someone suggested that instead of doing that, I could just start adding battle damage and individual markers on the guys and decals to represent their companies and whatnot. And I like that idea more. So that's probably what I'm going to do next. You can attempt the magnets. You don't want to fiddle with the halo. Second line with helmet sounds fine for me. Fair enough. Yeah, the halo was very stressful, and I'm glad that it worked, but I wouldn't strongly recommend doing that unless you're already very comfortable with magnetizing and the like, because the actual part that holds the halo on, that like it slots into, is very small and very easy to break. And I got very lucky. You can actually see it on this, because I've mentioned before, this is just a straight scan. This part right here is where I drilled and inserted a magnet. And I did the same thing in the backpack, and it ended up working out okay. So I just got really lucky. The Tyranid friend does pretty well against Microns. He does big models. It's like a kaiju fight. That is really fun. Okay. I think what I'm going to go ahead and do with this is I'm going to give it a coat. Should I do Seraphim Sepia, or should I do Druchii Violet? The only drill bit I have is the size of the magnets, is a large wall drill, so you got no handle for it. It keeps biting into the plastic, so yeah, that is true. But yeah, before I move on further with this, first of all, do I want to highlight even brighter into white before I wash it? And when I wash it, do I want to do a warm red or a cool purple? I don't know. But I gotta say, I'm pretty happy with how that cloak turned out, things considered. I think what I want to do is I want to make some of these transitions a little bit less stark, because they are very much like in-your-face transitions, and I'd like them to be a little more subtle. So we're going to go ahead and water this down quite a bit, thin it all the way down to the point where it is basically a glaze. And just start doing some of that so that it dries a little smoother. And also pull even more moisture out, because good lord is that puddling badly. Oofa doofa, that might have ended up being a bad idea. That's okay. It'll dry and I'll find out. Gonna get your breakfast. It's 8:25 p.m. Good gravy. I think not purite, but it could be a little lighter. A red-purple mix wash. Okay. I agree with both of those. I can probably mix the Druchii Violet with the Sepia, and we'll see how that turns out. Oh yeah, like this right here. This is messy. This is too messy, so we're gonna pull that back out. See what I can do about just kind of smoothing this out a little bit. Just a slight wash, slight glaze. Now, one thing I would like to say is I am not very good at this glazing aspect. It's not something I've ever done particularly well, so this is also a learning opportunity for me. Okay. So let's hope that I can do something halfway decent with this. Because one of the biggest problems that you can always have is too much moisture on the brush, and then you just end up coffee staining everything and it looks terrible. So hopefully that's not what's going to happen as I continue working through this. Okay, by and large, the rest of this doesn't look that bad, all things considered. Just some of the color jumps are a little bright. That's probably what's affecting my brain. Okay, let's see. Now I think to do this mixture, I'm probably actually going to have to pull this up, because I didn't end up using most of it. Yeah, see, my thought isn't necessarily going through with the same level of density with the white. It would be more like dotting it, just so it has some like speckles of white on it. But I don't know how that's going to look. So I'm going to go ahead and clean this up, and I'm going to hit it with a wash. And then if I don't like how dark it is, then I might go back and reapply some highlights. Yeah, dotting, scratching. It would be like stippling almost. And actually, if I were to do that, I'd probably move over to a different brush, because I want this one to have at least a halfway decent tip for as long as possible, and stippling's a great way for that to not be the case anymore. Okay, so let's go ahead and see if I can grab. What I might do, I might make my own wash by mixing in bold Purell Red and this Royal Purple I have, and then just hitting it with a lot of flow improver and thinner, so that it basically becomes a wash. I think that's probably what's going to happen. And if that's the case, I got to use one of my dry wells, because otherwise it's going to soak right into the palette paper, because I'm a doofus who hasn't cleaned out his wet palette in probably months at this point. Add some of that in there. Tap that back down. I will say, the Pro Acryl tops are frustrating, but I actually like them a lot because they do a really good job of kind of not clogging ever. So if you hear someone say that Pro Acryl nozzles are bad, they're correct. But at the same time, I don't have the clogging problems that I have with any other product I've tried. So take that for what you will. And I think I'm actually going to mix just a smidge of black in here. Specifically because, you know, why didn't I just use the speed paints for this? I've got speed paints of both a rich red and a rich purple. Oops. Okay. I'm going to mix a little bit of black to darken it back down a little bit. And then we're going to go ahead and see how this turns out. Mix that in with some water first to loosen everything up and make this horrifying color. Good God. Okay, now it's starting to look okay. And then we're going to mix in some flow improver to thin it down, and then I'm just going to... It actually ended up making a magenta. That's very funny. There we go. Sorry you can't see any of this. My palette camera is not working right now. We're going to get some airbrush flow improver. Mix that in there. I think 4 droplets will be okay. We're gonna mix. Where did my thinner go? Are you? There's my airbrush thinner. Gonna mix that in. Stir it up. Then pray. Oh, that's very runny. Yet it is still far too thick. Yeah, I can't use that. That's too thick. So what's going to happen now is I'm going to take my big shitty brushes, and I'm going to absorb half of this. I'm going to put it in the wash bin. And then probably add some more water. That'll work. Again, sorry for the lack of content, guys. I'm doing some mixing. I'm trying to figure out the proper ratio of water and thinness to... gosh, that is still so thick. This is what I get for using good paints. It's so densely pigmented that it doesn't want to thin down appropriately. Okay, let's try that. I added a couple more drops of flow improver, and now it is literally just running like water, which is kind of what I want. Okay, we're getting there. That's infinitely better than where it was. Add a little bit more water. Mix that in. You ready to see me ruin an hour's worth of work? That's what I think is going to happen. I'm about to ruin an hour's worth of work, guys. Watch me. Okay, let's mix in a little more water. And let's see what I can do here. Remember, it is a proxy piece. This is actually going to end up being like the perfect moment for me to get really frustrated and throw it. And then shatter it to a million bits. And make everyone sad. That's not going to happen, by the way. If I ruin it, that just means I get another chance at making it look good. Because nothing is permanent when you're painting. And that's kind of the best part of it. Okay, so... I think this is finally thin enough. Yep, I got it thin enough. There we go. And hopefully what this will do is it'll help some of these colors blend a little better together. Unfortunately, in my infinite wisdom, I made way too much of this paint, which is probably why it took so long to thin down. So I've got all this thinner that I now get to dispose of. Or all this thinned paint. In case it shatters, you can glue it back together and make it a marble statue. That is true. I can kintsugi the entire thing, can't I? And then it just becomes like a statue of the lion that I can use as a terrain piece. There we go. Back to the terrain. We win. A+, guys. We did it. We saved the city. You have no idea how little of this stuff I'm actually using. This is such a thin layer of wash. Holy crap. So I guess today, On top of learning how to properly shade a cloak, I also got to learn how to make a wash out of, not a wash. There is so much of this paint in my well right now. Okay. Guess what? It's working. This is actually, I actually ended up getting to the exact right consistency that I needed. So this was all worth it in the end. Okay. There's that. And I'm also going to go ahead and do it across here just to maintain some color consistency. There are, frustratingly enough, some spots that I can't reach with the brush, and unfortunately those were unable to be hit, so you can still see kind of bare resin, and that worries me. But because of how the lion is built, it's really hard for me to get to some of these crevices. You have an empty dropper bottle to put the paint in? I do not, unfortunately. And honestly, I don't see myself using this wash again, so it is just going to end up getting rinsed out. Which is fine. It was an experiment. And even though it made a lot, most of it is water, so I'm not too worried about it. But I do appreciate the suggestion, because that is a darn good one. I need to buy some more dropper bottles so I can start holding mixes of colors that I create that I end up liking. And I can even potentially label them with like the mix of colors I used to make them, so that way it's a little more identifiable. Okay. Put that in there. And yeah, well, this isn't exactly acting like a wash. It's definitely getting, like, unifying all the colors under one shade, which I'm pretty much digging right now. Because it is kind of knocking down a lot of the more egregious parts of this. Okay, go ahead. That. And I think that's about all I feel comfortable using this brush for. So what's next is using the same wash. Oh yeah, this is exactly what I want. And taking it potentially right here. Actually, doing this the exact wrong way. Less liquid, please. Spread that back out. Almost unidentifiable. Hardly an inconvenience. Okay, let's use considerably less of that. Let's go ahead. Take this crevice right here. Smooth out some of these colors. And yeah, that already looks a whole lot better. You've been running Chessex dice for a few years, and I could tell people they're cursed. I rolled all ones, basically. Finally bought Baron of Dice. Hopefully the curse is lifted. Yeah, hopefully. Baron of Dice is supposedly pretty well weighted. Chessex dice is mass-produced, so, you know, you get what you pay for there. Which sucks, because I love Chessex dice. But, yeah. I've been playing with Imperial Fist dice that I got from, one of my wedding procession. Whatever they're called. Not best man. Best men? I don't know. But as a wedding gift, he got me a set of Imperial Fist dice. And they are some of the worst rolling dice I've ever seen. Which actually, honestly, fits with the Imperial Fists. So I'm glad that by being stubborn, I get to eventually break the curse of those terrible dice. And I hope that your Baron of Dice do the same thing for you and your Tyranid Swarm. Okay. Yeah, I think that knocked it down. It's not like super highlighted anymore, and I kind of like that color. So honestly, I don't think I want to touch the cloak anymore. At least not while I'm on stream, because one of the biggest issues for me is like not being able to get my face all up in there and seeing every bit of it. But I think that actually turned out pretty darn good. You would have liked to get you the Deathwing dice when the Dark Angels release happened a year ago, but they were always sold out, and now they don't exist. They're also just really freaking expensive, aren't they? Got yourself some beer mug dice? Hell yeah. My favorite set of dice that I got, I think they still make them. Give me a second. Do you still make them? Please say you still make them. Oh, you still make them. My favorite set of dice I got specifically, actually, Dark Vault, you probably are looking to Baron of Dice. They have to have some Dark Angel proxy dice. But, my favorite set of dice, I only have 10 of them left because I bought a set of 25 and I ended up giving 15 of them away to 3 different friends, like 5 sets of 5. But I use them only for saving throws, right? I only use them to save against wounds and the like. But these are hands down my favorite dice. There they are. Right there. These are my favorite dice. Because these dice are the best dice. I love the product description. Oh, that is definitely not a frog. Oh man, that's funny. I appreciate that that's what you think that is, because, yeah, they do look kind of froggy, don't they? One moment. Let me show you what this is, because I think Dark Vault, I think you'll appreciate how incredibly juvenile this is. Give me a second. Give me a second. Give me a second. I got this. I got this. I got this. It's that. They made dice of this moment. And it just makes me so happy. I love it so much. It's from Adeptus Ridiculous, because they created a new tier in their Patreon a couple years ago, since they just had so many people purchasing at like the $20 tier. So they made a $50 tier, and it doesn't do anything for you. You don't get anything new, except your name color changes in the Discord. So only $50 tier get that name, or get that specific color for their name. And immediately, like minutes after posting it, 3 people bought that tier, and one of them posted in the Discord and said, "You are all beneath me," and then posted that. And ever since then, that's been like my favorite emoji. So it makes me very happy. And if at some point or another I had the money or the time, I would definitely try and get an emote of my little avatar dude doing that, because that is so silly. Going back to him, I think the next thing I need to do with the lion is I need to go ahead and make the trim gold on the cloak, because everything else is done for the most part, and except for like the trim, which you can see is still black. So I think that's what I'm going to hit next. We're going to see how that goes. And I'm really glad I was able to stream tonight, because I was able to see all you guys again, and that just makes me happy. But beyond that, I think I'm going to have to cut it short at about 9 or 9:15, because I think the pain pills are wearing off. They typically don't work very well for me, and so my headache is starting to come back a little bit. And I friggin' hate headaches. So I'm going to see what I can do about at least starting the trim on the cloak. Yeah, it is always nice to hang out. I wish I could go longer for these. I have aspirations of someday being able to do like 4 or 5 hour streams to just chill and paint and hang out, chat. But yeah, that's unfortunately not in the cards right now. So may have Slay. I was really hoping to do that yesterday. I swear to God. I was ready. I had gotten all my stuff ready. It was like 8:15, 8:30, and I was ready to go. And then I started looking for an electric blanket for QB, my partner, because their job that they're working at doesn't have central heating, and it's really friggin' cold there. So I found a heating pad which they could put around their neck or on their lap or whatever, and that's fine for what it was, but I wanted to try and find an electric blanket for them so that they could, you know, survive. And so I was scouring everywhere, in the house, outside of the house, and in our carport garage, in our attic, and I just couldn't find the dang thing. But it set off my sinuses really bad. And so I was just sneezing and sniffling and coughing. And it's like, I can't stream like this. I'm going to sound so disgusting. And that finally went away around lunchtime. But I was straight up ready to just sit down and stream painting and chatting for like 8 to noon. And get one of them big beefy streams in. But unfortunately, 'twas not meant to be. But that's okay. There will be other opportunities. At some point, I'm going to have to sit down and start playing and probably start streaming like Rogue Trader or something. Because I just finished that game. Thank you, I appreciate it. It's good to see you guys. I appreciate seeing you guys. But yeah, I would love to stream Rogue Trader. I just finished playing Rogue Trader. I finally beat it yesterday. I was actually so tired from the morning from just dealing with my sinuses that I kind of just sat down on the couch with my computer and played Rogue Trader / halfway passed out. And I was already close to done when I sat down, but I was able to finish the game and beat it. And I was able to look at my ending and see the results of all the decisions I made. And for a 40k story, I do have to say that I managed to do the least amount of harm possible, and I'm proud of that. Especially given that I did not play the game as a God Emperor fearing dogmatic psychopath or fanatic. I tried to play the game as what they call an iconoclast, which is, as far as I could tell, just like, what if you got... Hello, Phantom, how's it going? Just talking about finishing up Rogue Trader and the way I played and the ending I got without really spoiling anything. But yeah, the way I played my character was like, what if you got hit by a bus and were isekai'd into the world of 40k, but you tried to keep your morality as in touch with your standard human morality as you could. And that's how I played the game. And remarkably, it managed to work. And I didn't get a happy ending, but I didn't get the saddest ending. How are you doing, Phantom? I had a pretty bad headache earlier today, so I wasn't going to stream, but I guess the pain pills kicked in, and so I decided to go ahead and take a shot at it. And I've spent basically the entire stream painting up the lion's cloak and trying to make it look as good as possible. So yeah, I don't know if you were really able to see, but this is what I've got so far with the guy. This is a 3D printed proxy. I don't know if you can see the bottom of his blade, but it's still got all the supports and whatnot in there. But my goal is to kind of use this as a practice piece for when I eventually paint the real one when I eventually buy it. And this is what I've got so far on the cloak. And I'm pretty happy with the highlights and everything, so I'm moving on to the gold trimmed edges on either side. And I think when I finish this up, when I get to a stop point here at around 9 o'clock, 9:15, which is in about 15-20 minutes, that's when I'm going to call it, because the headache pills are wearing off and I'm starting to feel my head again. Otherwise, I'm doing okay. I finally got to play my first organized tournament game of 40k. I've played casually with my friends a lot, and we were kind of in like the space of, do I really like this game or do I just like the painting? And it turns out that with the right people and with the right game, or with the right knowledge of the game, I'll take that back because I enjoy playing with my friends, but with the right knowledge of the game, I enjoy it a lot, actually. So that was a lot of fun to find out, and that was kind of a relief because even though I am enjoying collecting the models and I am enjoying reading the lore, I would I would like to enjoy playing the game as well. It would be nice. So finding out that I do was a lot of fun. And finding out that Oath of Moment is super important was less fun. For you D&D nerds, make an orc barbarian, name him Conjina. He thinks he is a rogue, and every time he sneaks up, he yells bum ba bum and RKOs them with a wave of his, then waves his hand on their face. You know, see me. Now he's got to do the AA. He's got to do the attitude adjustment. And then after he does the you know see me, he then does a coup de grace and finishes them off with a 5-knuckle shuffle. There you go. Perfect character. I will not be accepting any questions. Okay, one moment. Oh no, he's falling into the paint pot. Don't do that. There we go. Okay. My favorite thing... give him grappling. Yeah, exactly. Give him Tavern Brawler, give him grappling, max out his charisma and his strength, and you've got a perfect John Cena. My favorite thing about John Cena, other than that he's managed to remain as relevant as he has and parlayed his success into an acting career, is that his theme song, the one that he's become most famous for, it uses a sample from another song called Ante Up, and the opening part of the song is that trill followed by the guy yelling something nonsensical, and I think what he's saying is like Apano or some other gibberish, I don't know, but I heard it translated as apple dough. So now whenever he comes out to that song, all I can think of is someone yelling apple dough and then his song starting, and that makes me laugh. Okay, so this part is going to get just a little bit of an orange highlight. And it looks like I'm actually going to be called to cut the stream short because my poor dog, my poor elderly dog, my poor baby of a bulldog is either has to use the bathroom, apple pie doughboy, exactly. He either has to use the bathroom and QB can't do it because she's hosting a D&D, or he's just wants attention, and because no one's paying attention to him, he's whining and making it sound like he has to use the bathroom. So I'm going to go ahead and stop at about 9. I think that'll be a fair compromise. You look uglier than my baby, and I ate my baby. That's really funny. Okay, so the idea here is I'm trying to get down a decent brown-orange base because, as I understand it, gold is basically brown-orange. At least with the undertones, warm gold is. And I feel like if I hit this really good, then when I start doing my diminishing returns of space with the yellows, they'll really show as highlights. The best part is Orc Bard doesn't even know he's using Vicious Mockery. He's just stating facts. You've got a face only a mother can eat. Very nice, guys. A+ work. See, now, there actually is a content creator who does STLs of orcs that I think are Warhammer sized, and they're all based off of pro wrestlers. So all you guys are making me want to do is buy the entire set and make my army nothing but those. Like all my orc boys and orc knobs and war bosses and any infantry would just be represented by those models. Because he's got a ton of them. I think he's got somewhere between 20 and 30 of them. And they're really funny, but I've had no reason to purchase them until, I guess, now. Bum, ba-dum, bum. The boys know the wrestlers. Exactly. Okay. Again, just trying to build this up to a decent orange so that when I start painting the yellows over it, there's still that nice warm undertone. Because one thing I've noticed about how I do my golds is that I tend to just kind of go straight over everything with the exact same amount of coverage. And then it doesn't necessarily look like gold. It just looks like a very dusty yellow. And that's not quite what I'm going for, and that's not quite what I want. So hopefully I'll be able to hit smaller and smaller areas until eventually I have a fairly convincing warm gold. Currently looking at free STLs for old school Firstborn Marines. That maybe could be something to do in a time classic models are just not available. That is true. I actually have, if you want Dark Vault, I can message you some of the STLs I have, because I know that a lot of them have been pulled off, but I actually do have variants of like the original Tactical Squad, but they're custom made. So if you ever need access to those or want them, they do exist. I still have them, but they have been pulled off of the purple site. I also actually, hear me out, GW events, you have to use GW plastic, right? Take old sprues and make them into rhinos. They can't say no. That is true. Someone actually, they made a great unclean one out of melted down sprue goo that they then put into a mold. And that to me is amazing. One of my buddies is actually trying to make an army of sprue crons, and I don't know how far he got, but he basically gave up on the, or didn't give up, he never wanted to have actual Necrons, as far as I know. But he went ahead and just started mixing sprues with other Necron bits to try and make as many Skelemen as he could. And he's already an orc player, so he's already pretty big in the whole kit bashing thing, because why not? So who knows what he ended up coming up with. I haven't seen him in a while, though he is visiting this weekend, so I'll have a good chance at maybe seeing what monstrosities. Can you 3D print a mold? Yes, I'm pretty sure I can. I could also 3D print a model and then make a mold with that model. Though that seems like a lot of extra work. Okay. Yeah, and see, this is unfortunately where having to play to the camera, all things to ponder. I actually just ended up recycling a whole ton of my sprues. I should have kept them and melted them down and then made molds of like the lion and just made a whole bunch of sprue molded lions. But like, because I have to keep this so far away from my face due to the camera and the angle that I'm painting it at, I really can't see what I'm doing very well. So hopefully I'm getting decent coverage with this golden orange. I'd really like one day to make a 3D model, some classic models, print them and mold them and make them into metal bottles again. Yeah, that would be really cool. Seeing someone like pour cast iron or something. Can you imagine if someone made a full-on cast iron dreadnought again or something crazy like that? Okay, I think this is turning out okay. Okay, some of that off. Some of that. Sorry guys, I'm kind of really focusing in here. I haven't even looked at chat because I've been trying to do some of these highlights. Cast iron contemptor dread from the iron hands, good lord. GW states you can use 3D prints of the materials as long as you made them and they are not commercially available. Yes, that is true. I remember that being a thing during Golden Demon. and that one guy doing a Soul Blight Grave Lord, and then it looked into a reflection, and he completely 3D sculpted the creature's armor without him in it, so that he could stare at his armored or his bodiless reflection in the knot pool, and just being absolutely wowed by the immense amount of creativity and skill that went into making that whole model. If I remember right, it won Best in Show. It won the Slayer Sword that year, or during that thing, and it couldn't have gone to a more deserving person. Okay. So I think, yeah, Golden Demon Painters are on a whole nother freaking level. I think that's going to be good for the gold for now. It's basically a mixture of Averland Sunset and Orange. And then I'm going to move on to Averland Sunset, and then I'm going to move on to like Averland Sunset and Ice Yellow, and then finally do a highlight of Ice Yellow. I'm pretty happy with how this cloak turned out. I do think with the gold trim, you're getting to see more of the contrast of the detail, and I'm pretty darn happy with that. Honestly, kind of like I'm happy with the rest of this model. This guy's turning out awesome. I kind of want to go back and touch up the head a little more. The Golden Demon Compendium. I will say, I am still kind of frustrated. Yep, that's the one. Alexandra dos Santos. Absolutely beautiful. He did it at the 2020... Yeah, he won at 2024 Adepticon. I don't remember if he won the Slayer's Sword, because I know that there was some controversy with the Slayer's Sword a year or two ago, where the guy who won had an amazingly painted mini, but he had an AI-generated background, and then basically told everyone to suck it when he had to, you know, quote unquote defend his decisions. But that's a whole nother story that I don't really want to get into right now. Other than that, I feel bad for the people who actually didn't steal their art. He did win it. Well, good for him, because this model's fucking awesome. Okay, got one more thing to show. It looks like Phantom finished their captain, and the color combination they chose slaps really, really hard, because this is a very cool Gravis Captain, and I'm not too fond of the Gravis Captain model because I like the other one better, but this paint scheme makes me want to buy this Gravis Captain, so you did a really good job. At least I think you did a really good job. So let's see, there he is, there's the lad. Look at that. I love the black and the red and the gold combination. You killed it. It looks awesome. And also, that was something I'd never thought of doing. Why is it giving me the same pictures? Oh, heck, it's giving me the same pictures. Okay, let's look at one last thing. Golden Demon Compendium. Yeah, nope, that's not the one I was thinking of, but I do love that one. Erica did a really good job with her Krieg. That's such a cool model and such a cool diorama. I don't know if you guys have seen it, but if you haven't, I strongly recommend, my gosh, what's their name? Goblin Paint. She used to work for GW. She has a really cool YouTube channel, and she just recently posted a video talking about the evolution of Golden Demon and painting in general. And it was kind of cool watching her break down the different eras and the different, like, pivotal moments in Golden Demon. Yeah, you love the rat. It's so good. Rodrigo Lucas Frias. Yeah, like, look at this. One thing she noted was that currently dioramas are becoming big. Like, being able to make full scenes. This one not winning hurt you. Yeah, that's beautiful. And it's just, it kind of tells you how good the entries are nowadays. Just that something like that didn't no, it did win. It won Epic Scale Gold. But not winning the Slayer's Sword, right? This is on Epic Scale, so look at how tiny this thing is, and look at how amazingly painted this is. I hope to one day be at this level. I don't know if I ever will, but I hope so. And it just gives me so much inspiration, you know? Okay, so once again, guys, thank you for being here. Let's go see if we can raid someone. Doop, 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 doop. Let's see if there's anyone online. We got Dungeon Lodge playing Metaphor. We got Midnight Sumo. Oh, Arya's on. So we're going to go ahead and raid Arya, because Arya is a cool lady. And, no, we're not doing that. So we're going to go ahead and give them a raid. Any other than the sword would be theirs. Raid Aria. I mean, it is so hard to choose, but you are absolutely correct. Aria Silverfire. I think I spelled their name right. So, boom. Okay, it's working. So thank you again, guys, for joining me. I appreciate it. I'm sorry I've got to cut the stream short, but my head is starting to really hurt and I can't see straight. So I hope you have a great rest of your day. I hope you have a great rest of your week, and hopefully I'll see you next Tuesday. Bye-bye. I will, don't worry. I'm going to be great.